what happens in the group stage, other than perhaps for the matchups because of first and second place, largely irrelevant as long as you get through. Do you think that it's possible that the next evolution we see in this team between now and February, because that's what actually matters, is that front three?
I think it's definitely something he wants to try. I mean, I think it's significant that this was a game where you could have given Ronaldo a day off.
It's the only games he cares about, remember?
Against dead rubber against Bayer Leverkusen.
Yes.
But the fact that he tried all three against, remember, and it was an irrelevant match for Juve, but it wasn't irrelevant for Leverkusen, right?
No.
So you're playing a real opponent, albeit one coached by Peter Bosz. And you decide, when you make the change, you decide, you know what? Let's put all three of them out there. Let's see
all of them.
Possibly, but let's see what happens. And then to me, you don't do that unless you're thinking, this is a solution I want to use more often, in certain games, in certain situations. So that part, I think, is encouraging. What I think makes him a little bit reluctant is he doesn't have a fourth striker. So if you go with three legitimate strikers and they'll get hurt, they'll get suspended, and then you have to change your system again. I think that's one of the things that's holding him back a little bit.
Then shove Bernardeschi as the middle guy like he continues to do.
All that said, and this goes back to Saturday night against Lazio, is I think his biggest problem right now isn't the stuff about the three or whatever.
It's the midfield.
It's the midfield because, I thought they looked fine until Bentancur was on the pitch because he's the other midfielder who can pass the ball.
You mean until he left the pitch?
Yeah, I said until he was on the pitch. Or sorry, while he was on the pitch.
Yeah.
All right, well, you get what I'm saying. Once he goes off, and it's all on Pjanic, who, by the way, suspended for the next game.
Yeah.
I don't know because I don't live in Juve land. Is Bentancur back for the weekend? Or is this a more serious injury?
I think it's touch and go, isn't it?
Yeah, touch and go. It's supposed to be 10 days.
I'll be curious to see what he does because if you play a midfield with three guys who can't pass,
which is probably what he's going to have to do.
You have issues. Then you might as well play the front three and have Bonucci playmake and, by booting the ball off the pitch.
Move Bonucci up to midfield and you can have Demiral come in and play
thank
alongside
God, thank the Lord. I think that when I watched them against Lazio, there was a lot different theories. I was very upset for one thing that I thought, you either have a midfield that controls in the way that Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester City, several teams play or choose to play, or you can somehow have a team that is very good on the wide areas, that creates in the wide areas. Now, in 2017, Juventus still had pretty much the same midfield, and what they did at the time, they had Dani Alves and they had Alexander in his best ever season. So there was constant width and ability to cross in for Higuain or whomever it is at the time, or the runners from midfield. The midfield is too poor at the moment to hold, and there's nothing that's coming from the wide areas. Who is it? De Sciglio, Danilo. It's literally it's saddening to watch, if I'm honest. And so I feel like there's a bit of an identity crisis because the midfield can't hold and provide, and then you've got these three forwards who are all looking for these possibilities.
I know. I was just thinking when you said that the one guy who's played fullback and who can run at people and control and create on the wings is Cuadrado, but of course Clever Clogs gets himself sent off.
Well, precisely, because we know he is
and
doing.
So he's suspended now too.
Yeah, exactly. So then you kind of who are we at this point? Yeah. Now then I read what Arrigo Sacchi wrote, and he was all waxing lyrical about the 35 minutes against Lazio that was so spectacular to watch, and if they can play as this compact team. Okay, that's fine, but they don't have a midfield and they don't have any quality in the wide areas at the moment when it comes to providing. So I still feel like no matter how, we can talk about Ronaldo not being, in the, great form or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, who's providing these guys with any of these opportunities? Because none of these midfields are making the right runs. There's no crosses coming in. Poor Sandro's out there trying to do as much as he can. So I just feel like I'm not entirely sure where all this attack is coming from other than just playing compact, trying to win back the ball. And it will happen, and they'll do it more than 35 minutes, and they will get better. But I do have a little bit of a worry, and I do feel sorry because Allegri was criticised for the fact that, let's be honest, the market hasn't been great, and they didn't buy the right players. Ramsey's constantly injured. I don't know what's going on with Rabiot.
Ramsey was Player of the Year.
Stop saying
Oh my God, Gab.
You really never want to let that one go. But to a certain extent, it was bad moves on the market in some ways.
You know what? It's a flipping,
Rabiot.
It's a flipping.
Can we mention Rabiot?
Yeah,
It's a flipping good thing that Paulo Dybala didn't get sold like they wanted to.
Yeah.
Because,
Or Higuain.
frankly...
Or Higuain.
Dybala was, the orchestrator again, I thought, in this last game. I think that we absolutely cannot move on from this game without talking about the fact that Lazio are now...
Absolutely, but sorry, but we also can't go and criticize Juventus's markets by not having a go at Fabio Paratici, or at least mentioning him.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
To be honest,
He laid an egg this summer?
I can't, but
Okay.
I
All
do
right, just
think
checking.
I definitely think he did.
All right.
We can't sit there and blame Inter for the way that they've conducted their market and look at Juventus and be like, yeah, it's really great moves. Because let's be honest, what they needed was ball players. Allegri said, I will do anything if you just get me these players that are good on the ball. Isco, get me Milinkovic, Savic, somebody.
Wow.
And what did they do? They got him Emre Can.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.